thing that prevents the flutters. Alright, so here we are. I just gotta, what is it? I'm just gonna replace my diverter valve because Leo gave me this one. That's like some Chinese knockoff. I don't even know, like, I forgot what it was. Like, Randy like told me like the real one, but I forgot what the name of it was. But anyways, we're gonna be replacing this so then my car can make the mega whooshes. It's honestly kind of tricky because I thought like you're supposed to like just match it, put it in there like that, but you're not. So I'll just go into like more detail once we're actually getting it. Alright, so while Leo's getting his screwdriver, let me just explain a little bit farther. Right here we have our Mark IV 1.8T engine, and we're going to be replacing the diverter valve, obviously. It's a pretty easy thing. Honestly, this doesn't really do much to your car performance-wise. If anything, if you get the wrong kind of like, if you get the wrong type of thing, then you can actually degrade the performance of your car. Because the thing with this one is, this is a diverter valve splitter, which means it's like half diverter valve, half blow-off valve. And the splitter part of it is really important because if you only get a blow-off valve, then you're letting all of the, well, I feel like we should probably explain how a diverter valve works so it makes more sense. Basically, you have your intake, and this is your turbo inlet tube, and it goes down to the turbo, and your diverter valve's over here. Usually with a blow-off valve, you would put it right here. Like, you would take your boost hose off and then just put the blow-off valve there. But since this is a diverter valve, all the excess boost goes through this hose into that diverter valve, and then when you let off of the throttle, that opens up and lets all of the boost back into the intake, so it recycles it. So if you just put a blow-off valve on your car, then all of the excess boost pretty much just gets let out into the air, like, you know, because it's atmospheric. And basically what it'll do is it'll make your car like run rich between shifts because your car isn't getting all of the air back into it. And you know, that could probably like give you a code or something and do something bad. So
it will.
Yeah. So this kind of is like the best of both. If you want like the if you want your car to still work, then it'll still divert it back to the intake, but it also, you know, give you that blow-off valve sound. But if it still gives you a code, the good thing with these is that you can like remove this. I can't really do it with one hand, but you can remove like the horn part of it and like cap it off with something else that's threaded, like, you know, the same. And then it could just be like a regular diverter valve. Yeah, this is like some knockoff diverter valve. I honestly recommend probably getting like an actual forged one, like the 007, I think it is. So yeah, taking this off is pretty easy. You just got like three well, I mean, if you haven't touched your diverter valve before, then you usually have like these like one-time use ones.
Wait,
here's one.
Those are the pain in the ass.
One of these. You'll have one of those on this, the boost hose. The top hose like up here, which I can't fucking like see right now. There we go. This one right here. And then another one at the bottom is connecting to the intake. So you just cut those off, and then you take this off. So I'll probably just do that right now. That would have been a bad. So that's that off. This bottom one goes into like the tube over there that's pretty much pointing right at, and then this side one goes into like the one over here. And then, and here's the tricky thing, and that me and Leo actually both fell for this, where you see how the stock diverter valve is, and you see how the aftermarket one is. If you look under here, the piston is right there, right? And like when you put it on here, it goes on like that. So you would like logically think, oh well, the diverter valve is going to go on the same way. That's actually wrong. Yeah.
It goes like that.
Yeah. I mean, if you cap this end off, then you could probably do the same thing. But since it has like since it's like the half blow-off valve, there's obviously the horn that comes off of this end right here. So, here, let me see if I can I'll just put this down over here. So, there. So, your boost comes in through here and gets diverted down there. But since you have the blow-off valve end over here, your boost will come in through here and just pass right through. Like, it'll pass through at idle and when you're hitting boost. So it'll pretty much give you a massive boost leak, and it'll pretty much sound, you know, like your car's a jet engine. So so instead of putting it like this, if you have that end open, then like you're supposed to actually put it on like that. So then the boost is like hitting that part, and then when you let off the throttle, that's when it opens up and like, you know, diverts. But if you do have the other end capped off, then you can put it on normally, because at that point it's basically just a regular diverter valve. So this is pretty much how it's looking right now. So we have the new one back in there, or new one in there now. Everything's all good.
Oh shit.
Ooh, there's like a clean ass 350 over there.
I just scraped.
Got a scratch too. I think it's pretty nice. Alright. One thing I do want to point out though is that if you turn on your car and at idle it opens up, that's normal. It's supposed to do that. The only time it's supposed to be closed is when you're like giving it gas basically. But if it's like, if you're idling and the piston opens up, then that's like perfectly fine. You don't have to like flip out like shit. I want to see if it's actually open or feel it. Pretty sure it is.
Seems like it might be, is it?
I can kind of hear it, I'm not sure.
See, rev it, it should open up more. Snap is being a bitch.
It's fluttering, I can hear that.
Fucking garbage.
We just gotta loosen it up, that's it.
Yeah.
Alright, so this is at the like a looser setting, so let's see if it works now. Looks like it's working now. That sounds pretty good.
Here's what I do. I want to tighten it a little bit more. See the point where it starts fluttering and just
yeah.
get it a little bit off.
So and it's at like the highest boost it can be at.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously you play around with it, like you probably it's not really a good idea to have it at the loosest setting and then call it good. Because at that case, if you have it at the loosest setting and it works fine, you're basically making it open when it's not supposed to, like, or too soon, because then in that case you're gonna lose boost. So
yeah, it'll open up while you're driving, since the air pushing back against the piston is enough to open it up.
Yeah.
It'll just lose a lot of boost when it's not supposed to.
Okay, so we realized that the spring that we have in it right now might actually be too loose, because we had it at the tightest setting at first and it fluttered, but now we let it warm up a bit and put it back to the tightest setting, and now it doesn't flutter at all. So it's probably just like the spring that needs to be warmed up a bit too. So now we're just gonna try to put on a tighter one and see if it'll help.
That's new spring in. Now I put it at the loosest setting to see if it opens up at all.
All right.
And if it does, then we'll just keep tightening it.
We'll just keep tightening it
if it doesn't, we'll
flutters.
just change the spring back.
Yeah. And we also got to keep in mind that like when the apparently we also got to let the blow off valve warm up too, because when the spring is too tight, when the spring is too cold, it's too tight. So
that's good.
All right. So with the tighter spring, it doesn't flutter at the loosest setting, so that means we can keep tightening it. Oh yeah, I don't think I explained. To tighten it, you just twist like the thing on the top. Let me see if it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just twist this part on the top. What's going on here, dude? Yeah, I know. Right?
I guess you just gotta let it heat up.
I guess, yeah.
That's weird.
Well, yeah.
Oh, there we go.
It has like a tiny bit of flutter to it.
Yeah.
Like a tiny bit, not like super significant, but like, you know.
Yeah, like if it slightly starts to flutter, then it opens up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's starting to flutter now.
Starting to flutter.
Yeah, so we might need to like loosen it a bit more. Alright, so after multiple street tests, I finally have the diverter valve at the right setting where it won't flutter. And it sounds pretty nice, honestly. It's like it's not like, okay, it sounds pretty, it's not like extremely like super like freaking way loud, but it definitely is louder than the stock diverter valve, so that's pretty good. Yeah, you can definitely hear it more though. Yeah, it actually does sound louder from the outside. It sounds louder than the OEM one. So, yeah. So, that's.
I can't hear flutter at all.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't flutter anymore. God damn, I really need to change my front tires.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Mine are gone.
Yeah.
They become racing slicks, dude.
they're racing slicks now. It's all right. All right. Well, that's that, I guess. Aftermarket diverter valve installed. Holy shit!